I have $40,000 in credit card debt.
When I was 23, I had $25,000 worth of credit card debt.
31, I'm single, I live alone, I'm currently paying off $29,000 in credit card debt.
Let's do an update on how broke I am so that you can feel better about your finances. And I have been not wanting to do an update or really talk about finances at all in the last week and a half because honestly, I'm just embarrassed about it and I want so badly to be out of this position, but it is not something that happens overnight, unfortunately. We have increased our income, we've cut down on expenses, but all of our extra money is going towards paying off our debt, which means we still have no extra money. We're also not using credit cards at all. And so the money that we were able to spend going on those credit cards is now also decreased. So it is just not a good situation. And today is just a day I'm pissed about it, honestly. So right now we do not have any groceries. And I don't mean oh, we don't have stuff that's easy to make quickly. No, we actually don't have food to make. So I'm at Aldi. I need to get some groceries and, I just checked my checking account and I'm currently negative $8 because something came through that I wasn't expecting. So thankfully I have money in our savings account that I set aside for taxes on the money that I've earned from TikTok, which is
good because boy, them overdraft fees will kill you. But let's continue. Let's see.
Still not enough to cover all of that, by the way. But I'm going to be borrowing some money from that so that we can get groceries, and then I will just have to pay it back when I get paid from my actual job. It is days like this where I literally just want to scream because we're digging ourselves out and I'm seeing progress and I'm grateful for that. There's at least light at the end of this very, 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 very long tunnel, but I'm just pissed about it. And so I just wanted to share this because I've been hesitant to even talk about it because I'm embarrassed about it. But I know that there are so many people who are in the same spot. If you look at the first video that I posted, there's a lot of us. So I don't want to seem like everything was just magically fixed because it was not, and our situation still sucks. There is just a little bit more hope because we were able to increase our income a little bit, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, there's still days where it fucking sucks.
I don't know the situation. We got to go find that video. But what I'm going to say before I go find the video is it's supposed to feel like this. Ain't nothing wrong with it in terms of feeling this way. It's supposed to make you upset. And the fact that they're doing something about it, they deserve a round of applause. And I say they. She said they. I assume she talking about her and her husband maybe. And we're going to go find out the origin story. But you're not supposed to like that. Some people make videos and that seems like, it's so carefree. But no, it's supposed to get you fired up. You ain't supposed to like it. You're not supposed to like that. It's holding you back from doing what you want to do. It ain't no ha-has. I laugh. This is my personality. So this is how I am. But in terms of these people talking about their finances, you see a lot of people who just sit back and I'm just going to give it to the world. No. What are you doing? And I love the fact when I watch these, when somebody has a plan. They increased their income doing, I guess, TikTok videos like this. That's how you do it. Find a way to make some more money, which ain't easy, by the way. And when you do, be diligent and be consistent. But let's go find the origin story here.
On this video, I have gotten so many thousands of variations of how did you get into so much debt? So I thought that I would address it. This is one of the nicer comments. So long story short, we don't have a lot of luxury items. We weren't taking vacations like a lot of people assume for whatever reason. We had 3 hospital stays within a 5-month period. And then months of every test under the sun. And then 9 months of therapy 4 times a week. So if you're a parent, then maybe you understand, but I don't care about the debt. I just wanted my kids to be happy and healthy, and thankfully now they are. But that has left us with about $48,000 in debt. So it wasn't because I was just out buying handbags or new shoes. My tennis shoes are 4 years old. So it's not because of that.
It's not good that you're in debt, but I'm glad to hear this is not a situation that you're going on trips and spending money that way. And the thing about it is, a lot of people will say, well, You should have got insurance. Well, sometimes, I don't know if she had insurance or not, but sometimes you'll be surprised what insurance will actually pay for. I'm in the healthcare field and it's changing so much. Sometimes insurance will not pay for a damn thing. And a lot of times, depending on what kind of insurance you got, they might not pay until you reach a certain threshold. You hit your deductible, and I would love to know what type of insurance you got. I'm kind of weird like that, but at the end of the day, it's changing so much, man. It's changing so much. What you thought your insurance may cover, it probably didn't. Will it cover those PT costs? Will it cover the fact that you had to stay in the hospital more than a few days? Sometimes you just don't know. You just know you got insurance. You could be like, she should have read a little bit more, but things happen. This is one of those situations that I'm like, they probably were doing everything right, and one day something crazy happened that they did not see coming. Things happen sometimes, and the fact that they're doing what they need to do in order to get out of it, they deserve some applause. And go follow them on their journey. It's easy. Go follow.
When I was 23, I had $25,000 worth of credit card debt, and now I am 25 and debt free, other than what we put on our credit card and pay off each month.
Congratulations. But let's hear the story. Now I'm interested. 2 years, 25K gone. Okay, let's see what you're
Somebody
talking
who has
about.
paid off a lot of credit card debt for my age, I'm going to give you a couple of my top tips for getting out of credit card debt. With it being the holiday season, I would set very realistic expectations for my family and my friends / loved ones of how I can afford to show up for Christmas this year. There's obviously so much pressure online and on social media to go crazy with the Christmas shopping, but ultimately your loved ones do not want you going into credit card debt just to get them a Christmas gift. I would not put every single penny from my bank account onto my credit card balance. That is a perfect situation for getting yourself deeper into credit card debt. A lot of people end up completely depleting their checking or savings account for the sake of paying off debt faster, but in reality, you need to have a solid emergency fund and amount in your checking account to simply pay for life. Golden rule is while you are paying off your credit cards, you should not be putting a single penny of a purchase on those credit cards until you can get them all paid off and start clean with new and better habits. I always tell people this, but I think it is so important to allocate a certain percentage of your monthly take-home pay towards discretionary spending. Because if you have a spending problem and that's what got you into credit card debt, you are not just overnight going to get rid of that bad habit. Realistically, you need to allocate yourself at least a couple of $100s every single month that you can just spend on buying coffee out or an impulsive purchase or things like Christmas gifts. Like, you have to have spending money. Otherwise, that's just not realistic for most people.
I will say, I kind of disagree with that point in a sense. I get what she's saying. You want to slowly cut back because you're not going to automatically be able to cut a bad habit. But for one, if you got credit card debt, don't buy nobody nothing. Not no family friend. Now, your kids, you want to try to get your kids something. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, though, don't buy nobody nothing. You might say, well, I need to get... No. You don't need to be spending no money. They'll understand. You'll be surprised how many people will actually understand your finances if you're struggling. Because more people are struggling than you think. You think it's just, people out here struggling for real. If you be like, look, I got $25,000 worth of credit card debt. I just can't afford to get nobody anything except for my kids, get them a little small something so they don't feel left out. I understand that. Other than that, man, look, don't be trying to buy Auntie Jenna something. Don't be trying to buy Uncle Joe something. But let's continue. Everything else, though, I agree. And then she said have a discretionary fund. You might walk in the gas station and spend some money real quick. You might buy you a little coffee. And when she say discretionary, I'm assuming that's what she's talking about. Some small things like that. But Christmas... Look, gifts. Look, I'm going to give myself out of this debt. All right, let's keep going.
Be ashamed of the financial situation you're in. It honestly helped me so much when I was going through the process of paying off debt to talk to my friends about it. And it also made them way more understanding when I couldn't say yes to things like going out to dinner, going out to drinks, or taking a weekend trip because they knew how important getting out of debt was to me. In the same vein, you have to learn to say no to things that cost an exorbitant amount of money when you are paying off debt. Paying off credit card debt was easy, then everyone would be doing it. At the end of the day, it is not an easy task. And so if you're in the process of paying off debt, you are doing something that so many Americans do not have the self-control to do. And so you should be proud of yourself, but you should also know that you are not alone. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you will not have to say no and make all of these sacrifices for your whole life. Getting out of debt is so worth it, something I firmly believe in. The advice I can offer to help others get out of credit card debt, I am so willing to do so.
Good video overall, except the gift part. I was like, that's a little shaky. No going out for you. You got yourself in a hole. You kind of had to, you got to climb out that mug. A certain sacrifice you're going to have to make now. And am I saying not go and buy yourself a coffee every now and then? It'll be nice not to, but everybody ain't going to do that. You shouldn't. You should really just go and put some grains in your coffee maker. You know, grind up some beans, whatever you decide, you know, and save a lot of money that way, because I need to get my caffeine fixed too. But I'm not going to Starbucks to buy that overpriced coffee. You know what I'm saying? That's how a lot of people find themselves in these situations in the first place. But at the end of the day, slow steps are better than no steps.
I have $40,000 in credit card debt. 40. So let's talk about it. First of all, that is a statement that I thought I would be taking to my grave. I never thought I would tell another soul. And in fact, until today, I have never told another soul about my struggles with credit card debt, because this is not the beginning. If we rewind all the way back to about 19 or 20-year-old Lana, that is when my journey with credit card debt began. I was 19 years old and I was dating a man who was 31, and he did not support me or help me financially in any way. And I was trying to live his lifestyle off my minimum wage job, and I was living outside my means, to be quite frank. I got myself into credit card debt. I stayed in credit card debt until I was about 21, at which point I was able to pay it off over the course of just like really cutting back and being very diligent about making as many extra payments as I could to my debt. And then I got out of it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the most freeing thing. I'm never doing that again. And then I did. And then I paid that debt off. And you know what? I repeated the cycle again. I'm in my third cycle of credit card debt. And at this point,
I'm going to tell you what happened to her. She did it the first time. Cool. Out of it, feeling great. Did it again. Why? Because she knew she got out of it once. I can do it again, right? Once you do something one time, you feel like you can do it again, even though whatever you was in the first time probably wasn't a good situation to begin with, right? So, boom, got out of it one more time to see herself right back in it. Let's continue.
Point, my threshold has just gotten so big. Your threshold for debt increases with time, right? It's just like your threshold for anything else that creates stress in your life. Over time, your body has to adapt to the current conditions, so your threshold for what it can hold expands. So right now, the number 40 probably feels staggering to some of you, but it's not a number that I feel fear around. So why am I sharing this with all of you? Well, because this debt that I've carried on and off for almost all of my 20s has cultivated so much shame for me.
Okay.
So much shame. I directly had my self-worth tied up into my financial picture. And so I thought that because of the fact that I had this debt, I was not worthy. I was not worthy. And as I've been doing a deep dive into my subconscious mind, just really into my psyche in general over the last couple of years, I have looked at everything very, very, very honestly. But money's been the one thing that I've been avoiding. The one thing that I've been avoiding. And over the last month, I have gotten to a place where I cannot avoid it anymore, because I am in a very unique situation when it comes to my finances. And I've been doing all of this subconscious work. And as I sat in meditation yesterday, this just came up out of nowhere that I need to talk about it. I need to talk about it. So I first started by having conversations with my closest girlfriends, because they didn't even know. And after I had spoken to them, I felt the shame just dissipating and leaving my body. And I thought, I'm going to share it with the world. I think I've always known that I was eventually going to share it with the world. I just wasn't feeling ready. And so I'm sharing this with you because I know that so many of us struggle with debt. I know so many of us are in debt right now, and I need you to remember that money is not moral. You are not worthy or unworthy depending on your financial situation. The more that we talk about things, the less that shame can breed, the less that shame can exist. And I'm just simply to a point where I'm done feeling shame about this. I'm done. And so if I don't feel shame about it, why not share it with you? Because if I can help one person feel less alone on their journey, it's worth it for me. And I don't really care what the comments are going to say, because if I don't feel shame about it, you can't make me feel shame about it. So moving forward, okay, now that we've got 40 grand, what's the plan? The plan is to give it to God, basically. I am in a full surrender right now with my finances, and I just trust so deeply that I had to get to this level. I had to go to these depths on my journey with money for me to fully untangle my relationship with money. Because if you go all the way back to my childhood, I felt fear and scarcity around money before I even conceptually understood what it was. So as I entered adulthood, I had subconscious beliefs that there wasn't enough money, that money equated to my worth, scarcity, lack. Like I had very, very, very deep-rooted fear patterns around money. So even though I entered adulthood and I was able to manage my own finances, and I consciously knew the right way to manage my finances. I worked in finance for 10 years. I consciously knew the right decisions to make. I would not make those because my subconscious mind was running the show, not my conscious.
All right, this is a long video. I'm not gonna let this whole thing play. I was like, she really wasn't giving me a chance to pause this mug, but you know, I'm gonna watch the rest of it and kind of come back to you guys with an update on what she's talking about in its totality. But it sounds like she chose a out of sight, out of mind kind of thing with her credit cards. But because she wasn't really checking on her finances like that, she just kind of wanted to forget about it. But I'm gonna get back with y'all once I watch this entire thing and let you know what I find. All right, did a little research. She has a new business, so that's good. If you want to follow her journey, you know, here's her a link right here. But I will say this. She didn't really say what it was. Hopefully it's just making a good amount of money. But it looks like she's taking the right steps. And that's the thing about it. However, she takes the steps this time. She must be diligent enough to not put herself back in this situation. Because let's just say her business does great and she's making a lot of money. Now that 40 seems like nothing. She pays it off and then gets into $100,000 worth of credit card debt. Then what? It's like, okay, don't make the same mistake again and then again. You know, usually if you know better, you do better. But she knew better, she still ain't do better. So we do have to point that out. Okay, when you know better, you're supposed to do better. All right. And I know she used the words like shame and she's letting the shame go. But the thing about it is, being in credit card debt is shameful. Nobody wants it. It's hard. You can say you're letting that shame go, but having a little bit of shame is not the worst feeling in the world. It's a reason you feel that, because you know something needs to change most of the time, okay? And doing that and feeling that is normal. And when you feel that, do something about it. And it looks like she's doing something about it. So I'll give her a round of applause.
As of 2 months ago, my husband and I had $43,500 in credit card debt. Yeah, you heard that right. How does that happen? 2 months ago, I cried out to the Lord, asking for wisdom, asking him to help us to pay this off, telling him that I am willing to do what we need to do to get out of this hole that we have dug ourselves into. And he began to give me steps to take to do that. And I kid you not, y'all, over the last 2 months, I have actually seen that number go down. I've been tracking this for the last year, and as of 2 months ago, we had more debt 2 months ago than we did a year ago, and all of our cards have had 0% interest. We've been paying the minimum payments, which is a huge chunk, which means that it should have been going down over the last year, but instead it's gotten higher. But since I started implementing the steps...
She had 0%. I'm kind of confused. She had 0% now, or she says she had 0 then and it wasn't really going down? Because she didn't have 0% then. Playing minimums on a credit card loan, on credit card debt, ain't gonna make it go down none. But I'm kind of confused, but let's continue.
Steps that the Lord was giving me 2 months ago, we've actually been seeing that go down. And then a couple days ago, I felt this call by the Lord to start posting this debt payoff journey online to inspire hope. Because right now, times are really hard. And I keep hearing left and right that people aren't even able to afford groceries. People are just drowning in debt. People don't know what to do. And so by sharing my story of what the Lord has been teaching us and what we are doing, I'm hoping that this will inspire hope in your situation, that no matter how bad it looks, if you follow him and you do what it is that he's asking you to do, if you're willing to have your mindsets changed, you can get out of this hole that you are into. If you have been in debt and you have gotten out of it, I'm totally teachable. Please post it in the comments, like what you have done that has helped you. If you're not in debt, you're welcome here to spectate. And if you're ready to be able to steward an abundant life, follow along, because I'm going to the promised land. I don't want to continue going in cycles like this, like the Israelites did for 40 years. I want to eventually get to the promised land.
How did they
As of
get
2
in
months
this
ago-
debt, though? You know I need to dig deeper and see. Well, I really couldn't find how they got in this situation, but the fact that they're finding their way out, I think deserves a round of applause. Good for them, making more money using TikTok Shop and different ways to invest the money that they are getting from TikTok Shop. So, why sound funny when I say TikTok Shop? It sounds funny when you say that. Anyways, shout out to them.
Video of a gal talking about how normalizing credit card debt is extremely irresponsible, and as someone who has had credit card debt, has friends with credit card debt, and sees like the grander scope of the issue, I want to put my 2 cents in, because this is not an individual issue, this is a systematic issue. These credit card companies are predatory on people who do not have financial literacy, are predatory on people who need the money now. They are set up to exploit these people. It would be a different conversation if we were taught in high school, the school that we are all required to go to, if we were taught financial literacy, how to do our taxes, how to manage money, that would be very different. But that is not the case. This education and information is kept from people intentionally in order to prey upon them. So I think this idea of, oh, well, it's just the individual's problem that they're in credit card debt. No, not necessarily. Given the current situation, look at the US government. The US government is in astronomical amounts of debt. Why is it a bad thing if I am? Why is it a bad thing if people have student loans? Debt is not morally good nor bad. It is morally neutral. This idea that people need to be able to break out of this system and no longer be like preyed upon, these systems are built with such backing to prey upon these people. The individual has very limited power to break the cycle. Yes, is their ability to. Yes, can you get financial literacy? Can you get a higher paying job? Can you minimize your expenses? Yes, all of those things you can do, but only to some degree, not to the same degree that these credit card companies are preying on people.
She's right in a sense, because I always say that education upon doing certain things should have started in high school. You didn't get that. We didn't get that. But at the same time, 2 things can also be true. We shouldn't normalize credit card debt. Just because somebody else is in a situation doesn't mean I need to be in that situation. Because the U.S. in debt don't mean I want to be in that shit too. You know what I'm saying? So I think 2 things can also be true at the same time. Some people use credit cards, like the one lady we saw in this video, whose son, or she said child, I don't know if she said son or daughter, I can't remember, but child was in the hospital, didn't need PT, you needed it. You needed to swipe that card, you didn't have that money right now, you just wanted to see your baby be okay. Cool. But just like the other lady, she knew better. She was a financial individual and had a job in that sector. And she still didn't do right. So, like I said, 2 things can be true at the same time. Some people know better and they just choose not to. They go on these lavish trips, okay? They go all across the world, they buying bags, they doing things, trying to keep up with the Joneses. But then you have the other subset of people who actually need money right then. So they don't know what they're getting themselves into, and they don't realize that a lot of credit cards, when it comes to interest, are like so high so it can keep you in that debt. That is also true. So like I said, what she's saying isn't wrong, but normalizing credit card debt is not the way to go either. We need more education, yes. People need to do better, yes. Situations pop up where you need some money right then, and a credit card may be the only solution for you at that time. Yes, it's all true.
I'm 31, I'm single, I live alone, I'm currently paying off $29,000 in credit card debt. Please ignore the water that I literally just spilled. I clearly could not find my mouth. I want to talk about my coworker that I was talking to.
And that's a bad credit card too. What, she got a Bank of America?
I'm paying off $29,000 in credit card debt. Please ignore the water that I literally just spilled. I clearly could not find my mouth.
Well, it may
I want to
not
talk about
be
my
the one
coworker
I'm
that I was
thinking
talking to yesterday. Where I work, salary transparency is a thing. Everybody knows how much everybody makes. So I know that she makes the exact same amount of money as me. She just signed a lease on a new apartment for $2,900 a month. I thought that was crazy. That is so much money. Long story less long, her parents give her $1,000 a month. For no reason, simply for being her daughter. And now I am not jealous that she receives this money. I think it's so wonderful that parents help their adult children. I want to be in that position one day. I want to be able to help my adult children, my children at any age. As long as I'm living, I plan to help my children financially. I want to set them up for success. I want to pass down generational wealth. I've always heard of people who got continuous help from their parents, whether that be paying off their bills, paying off their debt, letting them live with them rent free, letting them move back in with them after a detrimental financial situation, whatever the case may be. We always hear about that. But to actually know somebody who is getting $1,000 a month from their parents just because,
Kind of crazy.
I felt like a failure. I felt like, man, I immediately started thinking, if I had that money, what could I do with it? If I had that money, I wouldn't be in the debt that I would be in. If I had that money, I'd invest it, or I would save for a down payment on a house. I just kept thinking and ruminating about all the things that I can do with that extra $1,000 a month. It's amazing that people have this type of support from their parents. I honestly wish everybody had that type of support from their parents. I wish everyone's parents were in that position to help their children. Hearing that my coworker gets $1,000 a month from her parents honestly inspired me to work harder.
Okay.
Because I want to give that to my kids. If I'm blessed to have children, I would love to be able to give them $1,000 a month to help them, to support them, to let them live a comfortable life, because everybody deserves to live a comfortable life. I'm 31, I'm single, I live alone, I'm currently paying off $29,000.
Look, the thing about it, I didn't know how she was going to end this video, but that's exactly what I was going to say. My folks can't give me no money. I'm out here doing this solo too. Parents ain't got enough money to hold it down like that. $1,000 a month just because. I wish, but no. We out here solo dolo. A lot of us are, right? But when you hear something like that, what are you going to do? That's the thing about it. It's okay to feel how she felt. She was like, man, I wish I can do that. That's okay to feel that because it's normal. We're going to feel that type of way because if we had certain things in play, we may not be in the situation that we are in today, but we are blessed to have that. But maybe, just maybe, if we play our cards right, we can set our children up to be better. When my father passed away, it was one thing I wanted to do because he said something to me before he passed away. And it wasn't close, but it was when I was younger. He always told me that he wanted me to be better than him. And so that has motivated me a lot throughout my entire life. And when I say better than him, there's just certain situations that I'm not going to get into on this channel right now. But just know that certain things in your life that you have going on, you need to use them for motivation. You'll be surprised what you can get done.